Boys, it's the day before the Teal mask drops, and I thought it'd be fun to show off some of the teams I've been theory crafting leading up to Regulation E. Now obviously there's still a bunch of stuff that isn't confirmed, and we don't know exactly how good these new Pokemon will be, so keep that in mind when looking at some of these teams. I have also built some of these teams with the potential leaks in mind, but obviously until tomorrow we don't know if these teams are even possible. These teams are also specifically built around Pokemon I want to build around, so just keep that in mind as well, I guess. But yeah, anyway guys, let's jump into it. So the first team here I've kind of wanted to build around was a very hyper offensive Alolan Ninetales Snow team. Basically, the idea behind this team is we have Alolan Ninetales there to set up the Aurora Veil, but also pump out some, pretty strong stab moves, especially next to things like Chi-Yu. It also enables Pokemon like Iron Bundles. So if we have a look at the team here, right, obviously, we got the Blizzard, we got the Moonblast, two really powerful stab moves. We have the Icy Wind, which is great for speed control, and then the Aurora Veil as well, which is just a fantastic support move, especially on these hyper-offensive teams, right? Then we have the Iron Bundle here. I did decide to say just, modest choice specs, because I do think this mon, especially when paired up with things like Icy Wind plus Tornadus, look, it's already incredibly fast as it is. 188 does outspeed, obviously, Modest and Adamant, Fluttermane, and Chi and Power, which I do think is really important. And not to mention too, I highly doubt we see anything like a timid Fluttermane without a booster energy or something along those lines. So if I'm not going to run booster myself, I do think, just going Modest is the best play. In terms of the moves though, just, basically just the standard stab moves. Hopefully we have Scald for this slot, but again, we won't actually know until tomorrow. I would love to see Scald and Iron Bundle. I highly doubt it gets it though, because I do think it would kind of push them on over the top. But yeah, just Blizzard spam next to Alolan Ninetales, Freeze Dry, Icy Wind, Hydro Pump. I think this mon can pump out a lot of damage, especially, with something like Alolan Ninetales. Tornadus is pretty simple. His job is basically to get up Tailwind. It has Bleak Wind Storm. I did also throw Sunny Day on this team as well, just because, I could potentially see modes where Chi-Yu plus Fluttermane with Tornadus is like the go, where, you play this back end four. It's a core I'm really comfortable with personally. I did run that core up to about, I think it was like 1800-ish on the ladder. So yeah, it's basically just like a core of 4 that just loves to play in Sun. And Bleak Wind Storm's good. Covet Cloak to make sure to get faked out. Could potentially drop Protect for something as well. But for now, I've just got this set. It still hits relatively hard. With this investment, you have a decent chance at KOing Urshifus. And next to Chi-Yu, you will always KO it. Chi-Yu, now, I'm not super sold on this one. I used to run specs on it, but I have specs on Bundle here. I have just set this up to, basically be a Plot mon. It's pretty bulky. It's got Berry with Plot. Again, I might change this to like Life Orb when the game actually drops if I do test this team out. But yeah, pretty standard. If I do go Life Orb, you could still keep Plot, because there are situations where like Fluttermane, like Gleam will just pick up a double kill and you could like just fully Plot. But yeah, for now, just pretty standard Chi-Yu here. Terra Grass as well, because I do think Grass is going to be really important, especially with, Rillaboom potentially getting Grassy Glide. Fluttermane, again, Grass set, very standard. It is booster special attack. Pretty quick though. Again, its main goal here is like, obviously you have Tornadus to set the Sun for you, but in a world where maybe you're playing this next to Alolan Ninetales, Ninetales gets up the screens, you're pretty bulky all around, and then you start firing up some massive attacks. And then finally to round this team out, we got the Scarf Dark Urshifu. I just love this mon. I think it hits really hard, and I think it complements the, especially the back core really well. But yeah, so that is the first variation of this team. And then here we just have a second variation. I haven't really decided on the Terra type for this mon yet. I'm not too sure what it's going to want to run. But it is basically just a max focus slash set. Basically, I think Mamoswine with Alolan Ninetales does have a lot of potential. I have kind of touched on it in the past as well, like an Assault Vest set with this. But that's something I'll just have to play around with in the future. But yeah, I could definitely see like Mamoswine just being like another really strong Ice type on teams like this. I think Earthquake as well next to Tornadus is really good. So yeah, like an Alolan Ninetales, Tornadus plus Mamoswine core, I think could be incredibly good. But yeah, I definitely think Mamo is going to be a really interesting mon. Because with Jolly Max Speed as well, it does outspeed Adamant Landorus, which is pretty important. Because you can obviously just threaten one-shots on that. You're also not, affected by the Intimidate, which is pretty cool. But again, you could always run something like AV plus Snowcloak on this team if you really wanted. So the next set of teams here we're going to take a look at are my rain teams. Now, I have built a couple different rain teams. Again, this is just all theory. We don't actually, know exactly what's going to be available. Like, there are potential rumors of things like the Tapus being available via home transfer, which obviously haven't been data mined yet. So, again, we'll find all that out tomorrow, right? So maybe, these teams will look completely different. But to start with Politoed. Politoed's my guy. I've been saying it for weeks now. I'm super excited to build around this mon. I'm probably going to try to bring a Politoed to day 1 for Reg E. So yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, I just love Toad as a rain setter. Basically Scald, Icy Wind, Protect, Helping Hand, Terra Grass. This one's pretty bulky. With the Rocky Helmet, it can easily eat things from, the Urshifus and Revenge Kill 'em. And yeah, just fires off like pretty decent stabs. It's got decent bulk, and yeah, dude, I love this mon. And his partner in crime will be the Ludicolo here. So Ludicolo, obviously a fantastic Swift Swim mon. Pretty naturally bulky. Its HP stat and defensive stat aren't amazing, but its special defense is really good. And you know, it's one of those mons where like you could probably like run this max speed if you really wanted. Personally, like I really like the modest nature. And because of that, I am just going to like run something like this. I think at least to test with the start, like maybe you're going to need more speed on it. But I think, you know, with Swift Swim plus Terra Grass, like having potentially Scald, if not Hydro Pump, Energy Ball, Fake Out, and Ice Beam, just a really good all-round set. Also, like in rain, you're really able to wall out things like the Flutterfish as well, which I think could be really good. I also have Double Genie on this team. I'll probably just quickly touch on Tornadus first. Obviously, I think on a team like this, having like Tailwind is going to be really important, just as like that extra bit of speed, especially with a lot of these mons, right? And then having, you know, the Rain with Bleak Wind plus Hurricane, I think is like super, super good, right? Obviously, making sure you don't miss either of them. And, you know, with Sharp Beak plus Terra Flying, this one pumps out damage. Again, you know, I could probably swap this around, maybe even play like a modest set. I'll just have to do a bunch of testing with that. But I do definitely think Double Genie in Rain is going to be really good. And my main reason for that is I don't think Double Genie plus Pelipper was good, because then you've just got 3 flying types, right? You know, at least if you're going up against a Chien Power, the Politoed can take it on pretty easily, whereas Pelipper couldn't. You know, Pelipper was always getting 2-shot by Ice Spinners, Ice Crashes, whatever, right? But yeah, and then we've also got the main Thundy here. You could also probably run Specs on Thundy if you wanted to go like Scarf Shifu. On this set, I don't have Scarf Shifu, that's why I've gone like Scarf on Thundy. But again, you know, potential Weather Ball, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Maybe it's going to be a thing. I was considering like Terra Water on this. That's also kind of why I've put that there. Like I was originally thinking like going Terra Water, Terra Blast, but then I was like, I don't really know what to put in the last slot. So I just went with like double stab. Again, Wild Bolt Storm being 100% accurate, I think is like insanely good in rain. And also too, like rain teams tend to be weak to electric type, so having Volt Absorb is always nice. Not to mention Volt Absorb plus Terra Flying as well is like really good, because then your only weakness, I believe, is Ice and Rock, I think are the only 2 weaknesses you have. Again, though, Terra Water could also be really good on this set, especially because you have that immunity. Then your only weakness would be Grass, and then obviously Freeze Dry as well. But at that point, like Grass, which, you know, you're fine with. As a flying type, you resist that. But yeah, double stab, Terra Blast, Terra Flying, and then just Weather Ball. We don't know if Weather Ball's going to be in the game, so that's whatever. Fluttermane, obviously, this is a Scooteasy special. I slap it on every goddamn team. Terra Electric with Thunder, though, I do think is really interesting on a team like this. Basically, Terra Electric's like really good for helping you take on things like, you know, like for example, Iron Hands, right? Basically, at that point, Iron Hands can't touch you. If it wild charges you, you know, calling a Terra on this team, or if it heavy slams you, you tank them both, you resist them both. And then again, just the choice specs Thunder in the rain is like it's a lot of damage. And then finally, the mod I do think is probably like the best rain abuser right now is obviously just Urshi Rapid. I went SD on this set because I don't really know if you want to click CC. Originally, I think when I was like theory crafting these teams, I had Iron Hands on there instead of Thundy, but I really like the idea of like Double Genie. So yeah, that's kind of why I just went like SD here, because like in the rain, if you ever get that SD up, potential Tailwinds as well, this one just shits damage, right? Because at that point too, like Surgeon Strikes is nice, but having like a +2 like Terra Water Jet in the rain with Mystic Water, like a lot of mons just fall into that, right? So yeah, that's the first variation of the rain team. And then the second variation here is just my Toad Trap team. Slight change up here. I did drop Icy Wind on this team for Perish Song. Basically, the idea behind this team is, you know, you've got Gothitelle, Fluttermane, and Politoed, basically just being able to trap things in, and Perish Song. But I think the reason like Poly trapping with Perish is like really, really good is because like with Rain, it really enables you to basically come out, pick up a quick KO or two, and then basically just Perish the final 2 mons, do some swapping around, and put yourself in a pretty good end game position. I do have Tornadus on this team again, just because of the fast mode I'm kind of looking at. Exact same set as we looked at before. Like the idea behind the Tornadus for me would be like, again, like you lead like Poly plus Torn, pick up a KO, potentially get Poly out, you know, pick up another KO, or like, you know, getting one of the other guys, pick up a KO. Try to just get, you know, 2 really quick KOs and then just Perish Song them down. Obviously Gothitelle here, Fake Out, you know, Trick Room, Psychic, and Taunt. Again, this mon is kind of there to like, it comes in, you know, it fakes out. It should actually have Protect. I just realized it doesn't have Protect. You're probably putting Protect in that slot, unfortunately. Taunt was cool in theory for like Shroom, but yeah, I don't think it's like super necessary. We got the Terra Dark as well, just so you know. I think Dark is just fantastic on Psychic types. But yeah, pretty standard set there. I'm sure everyone knows what this mon does. It kind of just eats hits and just traps everything in. Fluttermane, again, very different to what we had before. This is just a Sasha Perish Song set. Basically, the main reason for that is because I feel like most things that are KOing Fluttermane anyway are gonna like 2-shot you like regardless. So I just want to make sure it lives 1 attack. But yeah, look, maybe like a bulky set would be better, like bulky booster or something like that. But I do just like the idea of like max again, like on lead, this mon can just like pick up a quick KO, especially with Terra Fairy. You know, like Terra Fairy, Dazzle and Gleam can put out a lot of damage. The Urshifu is the exact same Urshi we looked at before. Again, like similar reason to what like we were talking about before, right? Like even if you like say for example have your Urshi in and then you like perish, it kind of scares your opponent into like they don't want to stay in there like swapping stuff around and then Urshi's just taking KOs. At least that's my idea behind it. And then the Iron Hands, you know, I kind of touched on it in the team before. This one's kind of just like the glue mod on teams like this. It gives you Volt Switch for pivoting, which can be really good if, like, say for example, you perish, then you get your Iron Hands in, you got Fake Out, and then you can Volt, you know, you can Volt the Iron Hands as you swap out Goth, and then, you know, because you're Vaulted, then you get Goth back in for free. They can't switch, you know, really good stuff, good for stuff like that. And I also do think this mon, you know, in rain is just really good. Terra Grass in rain is like sick as well because it gives you an answer to Amoonguss, or at least, you know, a soft check to Amoonguss. You can't be spoiled, which is always really, really nice. Now, the final rain team I do want to take a look at here is a team I actually built with some of the guys in my Discord. And guys, you know, just I guess a plug for that. Get on the Discord, come join us. You know, obviously we chat stuff about VGC, we team build, and you know, all that good stuff. So yeah, link will be down below in the description. So yeah, come join the Discord, have a chat. And yeah, but yeah, basically one of the boys wanted to build around Scizor Rain. He had an idea of how he wanted to build it. He basically gave me the team, and I just made some changes to, you know, what I basically thought fit the team pretty well. We got the Clear Amulet SD Scizor here. I do think Scizor in Rain is pretty interesting, especially too, you know, with some of the ones coming back. Oh, sorry, coming into the format. Especially these, what's it called? The loyal 3, right? Apparently they're all poison types, so having a good, you know, steel type would be really good for that. Not to mention, I think there is a poison psychic and a poison fairy, which obviously Scizor, you know, kind of eats them for breakfast. And the other one's like a poison fighting, so it kind of goes, you know, neutral with that. So I do think Scizor in rain with SD, Bullet Punch, Terra Steel could be pretty damn scary. Politoed, just the same set we were looking at before. I like Scald. If it doesn't have Scald, you probably run Pump or like Muddy Water. Champ Out, very standard set here. Basically, I think the idea behind this team was like get up rain, and then like, you know, use some mons that are like are weak to fire to like kind of mitigate it with the rain there. So like +2 Scizor next to Champ Power with like Sacred Sucker Punch plus Bullet Punch does insane damage. Pretty similar Iron Hands what we've seen before. Slightly different set, but again, this mon's kind of job is just to get in there, pivot around, deal some damage. You could also potentially drop Volt Switch on this set as well for Heavy Slam, if you really feel like your Flutter Mane matchup is bad, but I don't think this team's Flutter Mane matchup's bad at all. Urshifu, basically exact same set we're looking at before. I think this one's... Actually, no, I think it is the exact same set, right? Yeah, it is. It's just like, again, SD, it's bulky, you know, a bit of Spadef so it can live some hits. Yeah, and it wants to get up that SD, and then again, next to Champ Out, it just pumps out damage, like Terra Water, Aqua Jets, which is going to kill everything. And then finally, the Amoonguss. This team had so much, like, setup that I thought, like, it just needed Amoonguss. Amoonguss next to, like, Scizor and Urshi is, like, insane, right? Because you put something to sleep, you get up an SD, then you can just start pivoting around, like, Intimidates and just start taking KOs. So yeah, and also Terra Steel Amoonguss in Rain is, like, wild, right? Like, Steel is, like, a better defensive typing than, like, Water in a sense that, like, it just has more resistances. Obviously, Water's weak to less things, but, like, Steel in Rain is just, like, really hard to deal with. Now, another archetype I have been talking quite a bit about is the Vikavolt Ursaluna Trick Room. Now, look, I am not much of a hard Trick Room player, but I do think this has a lot of potential. Basically, this one hits so freaking hard. You look at that with Quiet Nature, 216 plus Life Orb boosting that up, man. This mon's going to be hitting for like almost 300 like special attack. And then you have Discharge, T-Bolt, Bug Buzz, and Protect. Terra Electric as well. You know, adaptability on like this kind of stat with Discharge is insane. You pair that with Ursaluna with SD, Earthquake, Facade. Obviously, Vikavolt is off the ground with Levitate. And Ursaluna, a good friend here, is it's a ground type, so it is also immune to the Discharge, which does make for a very, very strong Disquake pairing. And then Cresselia basically is just the Trick Room setter I've decided on this team. Basically, look, it's just your standard Cresselia, right? It's Trick Room. I've put 2 attacks on there because I like 2 attacks. It's got Psychic, it's got Ice Beam, Safety Goggles to help out with the Amoonguss matchup. Terra on there is Psychic. You could change it up. You could go Ghost, you could go Dark. It's really up to you. Fairy's also like pretty decent as well. Let's just say Dark because we don't want to get priority taunted. Then we've got the Hands. Obviously, Hands is just, again, this one's so reliable, dude, with AV. It's basically, it's also like our second mode of Fake Out, of Trick Room as well, that I kind of didn't really touch on. Normally, Cresselia is going to want to lead, like, alongside things like Ursaluna. But yeah, Iron Hands gives you, like, a guaranteed Trick Room setup if you're, like, worried about your opponent going for, like, Imprison or something like that. Not to mention, in, like, matchups where, say, for example, you're going up against, like, an Indeedee with Imprison, rather than, like, wanting to get up your Trick Room early, what you kind of want to do is, like, break a hole through them. And I think Iron Hands is just, like, really, really good for that. But I also think it pairs up really well with Chandelure, which is the secondary Trick Room set I put on this team. I was kind of looking at it, and like Chandelure, I think is like, I've said it before, I think it's really cool, right? You could potentially change the item on this. Like, obviously, I've gone this, like, you know, relatively bulky set on it. So you could maybe run something other than Sash. I've just put it on there because I'm kind of worried about it. But yeah, look, Chandelure, man, another mon that hits insanely hard, right? Like, obviously, I haven't gone quite max here. But, you know, I've got quite a bit of investment there. I put as much into bulk as I can. And yeah, I think, like, as a Trick Room setter, this is definitely, like, a really good secondary option. Obviously, it doesn't pair super well with, like, Ursaluna and Vikavolt, but I do think it pairs really well with, like, Iron Hands. And like, I guess it is still good with, like, Vikavolt and Luna. It just means you can't just, like, you know, spam Disquake, or, you know, Discharge and Earthquake with it. But again, there's always ways around it, right? Like, things like, I don't have, maybe I need Protect on this. I know, I have to play around with that, but I do have the Energy Ball here, because I do think Terra Grass is going to be really good, especially in this format, but also on this one in general. But yeah, that one's really cool. And then to round it out, I went with Serena. Basically, my idea behind Serena was, like, Ursaluna is so weak to Grassy Glide Rillaboom. And I think Serena in general is, like, it's just a pretty decent mon, right? Especially with, like, Rocky Helmet. It's really bulky. And yeah, like, being, like, a Grassy Glide user itself, I do think, like, into Rillaboom, it can be really good, because obviously you stop them from clicking it. And then you can just fire off powerful ones yourself. Potentially, you can swap out, like, Power Whip for U-Turn, or even, like, Taunt for U-Turn. But yeah, I've kind of just opted for this because I do think this team could really lose to Shroom. Shroom obviously, like, underspeeds everything on this team, I think, if they're, like, smart. That should also be, like, 0. So yeah, Shroom should run 48 if they want to, like, if you feel like your Trick Room matchup's bad. But yeah, that's, like, my version of Trick Room that I'm kind of, like, working on. Definitely excited to see how this one goes. Now, boys, this team potentially goes into spoiler territory. Obviously, there's nothing confirmed just yet. But there are rumors that the Tapus are coming back, and there are also rumors that the Tapus are getting the Isle of Armor moves that they didn't get in the past. So this team is kind of built around Rising Voltage Tapu Koko. Obviously, it's a relatively standard set, especially for people who played back in, like, the I believe it was the Sun and Moon days. It's just like your kind of just like 3-attack Koko. Obviously, you don't have Z moves, and I didn't really know what item to slap on this because I do have my AV elsewhere. So I just put a Magnet on this. I do think, like, Magnet Voltage could be, like, absolutely insane on this mon. But yeah, I also don't know the Terra. I haven't touched the Terra just because I don't know what you'd want on it. Probably something that resists ground would be my guess. Like, I don't know. I was going to say Poison. Poison's not good. I don't know. Maybe Grass is the answer. But yeah, so I think Rising Voltage Koko could be really good. But what Koko also gives us is finally a good electric terrain setter. And so I've obviously, as you can see here, I've slapped three of the electric terrain mons on here. First of all, we have Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle is basically my second form of speed control on this team. I do think this mon's, like, really, really quick. And as you can see here, I do have it actually underspeeding the Koko, which I don't know if that's actually a good thing or not. I might have to change it around. Like, again, this might be something where I play around with it. I'd just say, hey, you know what? Timid Bundle is still the play. But for now, you know, we are just modest max speed. Basically, same as, like, the team earlier, right? The idea behind that is, like, you know, if someone is going to go, like, booster energy bundle, booster speed flutter, they're going to outspeed this anyway. And at that point, I may as well just run max speed. And because of that, I'm just trying to get as much damage as I can out of this. You could also potentially do something like that if you really wanted. But I personally... actually, no, there's actually another reason why I've gone this low speed. I should probably touch on that shortly as well. So yeah, that's the bundle set. I completely forgot. Iron Moth is actually why we're going booster special on that one. It's because my Iron Moth basically is there to acid spray for the team. In an ideal world, like, if I play with these 4 mons here, I want this guy to be the fastest, right? So yeah, so he's booster speed with the acid spray, and then we have 3 very powerful special attackers. At least that was my kind of idea when I was building the team. Sorry. He's also meant to be Terra Grass, not Fire. Yeah, I do think Terra Grass is really good on this mon. Obviously, it's 4x weak to ground types, so having a ground resist is pretty damn nice. I'll quickly go over Shroom. Shroom was just kind of the redirection mon. I felt like its resistances was really good on this team. I think it's just, like, a really good defensive pivot for a team like this. Nothing else really to say. It's just your standard Shroom. Then Jugulus. I think Jugulus is one of the most underrated Pokemon in the format. Sorry, not in the format. I don't think it's good in this format, but I love it in this generation. I think it gets way too much hate. Basically, I'm just using it as the fastest Tailwind setter on a Koko team, right? So obviously there are, you know, prankster users and whatnot that are faster. But in terms of the future mods that get Tailwind, our good friend here, Iron Jugulus, is the fastest. So he's basically there as a kind of like a semi-support. Again, like, I don't know about these items. I personally used to run a lot of Life Orb. Life Orb is on my bundle though. So yeah, I could see a world where you, like, drop Snarl for Protect on this team. But yeah, I kind of was just like, you know what, let's just like kind of make it like this offensive support, right? It's got Tailwind, it's got Snarl, and then it's got like 2 powerful stab moves. And again, when you pair this with like things like Iron Moth, it can really just like take KOs on things that don't resist its attacks, right? Because, you know, even though like it's only 174, like that still hits pretty damn hard. And I guess finally to round things out, I just went with a very standard Assault Vest Landorus here. Look, I just love Lando. I think it's a great Gloom Bond. And I think on a team like this, Intimidate's like really important. Because obviously, you know, Moth has like no physical defense. Coco's physical defense is like nothing really great. Bundles is fantastic, but its HP is just dog. And then, yeah, same thing. Like Iron Jug just can eat a hit, but it doesn't really want to eat any more than that. And I do think it also just provides, you know, great immunities on this team. This team's, you know, relatively ground weak. You know, 2 of your main mons here are both weak to ground type. So having your own Landorus to basically switch into opposing Landoruses, I do think could be pretty damn good. Now, guys, this is the final team we're going to look at here. And potentially the team I'm most scared of, or at least the strategy I'm most scared of. And that is potentially Tapu Lele with Expanding Force. Now, again, this was, you know, potential leaks. We don't know how true it is. A lot of people are saying it's not true. There's no way they could give Lele, you know, Expanding Force. My argument is never trust Nintendo, dude. I've seen, you know, the power creep in this game go up every goddamn generation. And they could just say, hey, you know what? Last gen, it wasn't Expanding Force's time. This is Expanding Force's time. Give Tapu Lele Expanding Force. But yeah, I've just got a choice specs Tapu Lele here. Again, I haven't played around with the Terra on this mon. I don't really know what you want to run on it, so I've just left Psychic there. But I do think Tapu Lele on like a hyper-offensive team could be really, really good. We have Tornadus here. Tornadus is similar to one of the teams earlier. It's a Tailwind bot with Sunny Day. And I do have Heatwave on this team as well, because I actually do think Heatwave Tornadus is a little bit slept on. But again, the spreads need to be obviously fixed up, but Cloak plus Terra Dark obviously just means that you will always get off your Tailwind if you really need it. Iron Bundle was our second version of Spin Control on this team. You could potentially argue again for like Booster Energy on this, but in my classic form, I actually have decided to go for Booster Energy. Flutter Mane is our second best version of Speed Control. This is Speed Booster 190 with Icy Wind, just dual stab Terra Grass because I think Terra Grass is a great resist. But yeah, this is basically a focus slash attacker. It's got its like 2 primary stabs. Again, hopefully that becomes Scald. And then Icy Wind just for, again, another version of Speed Control. Chi-Yu though, basically my kind of idea behind Chi-Yu is like, 1, it gives you like a really good matchup into opposing Lele. And then 2, if Lele is like really good, basically this is how I'm going to beat balance, right? So you can't fake me out if I lead Lele. Obviously you're going to have to use things like Rillaboom yourself to like deal with it. And then at that point, my Chi-Yu is just going to run straight through teams. Not to mention, if you do not have an answer to Lele plus Chi-Yu, you're just going to get one shot on turn 1. I don't really know off the top of my head of anything that can live Expanding Force plus Heat Wave that isn't a Dark type. And then at that point, why would I click Expanding Force when I have Dazzling Gleam? But yeah, I think this core here in particular could be really, really impressive. You're going to need answers to like Lele plus Chi-Yu if this thing gets Expanding Force. And then finally, Golden Go with Choice Scarf. Basically, I kind of just wanted like a Steel type, and I wanted another special attacker to like help out the team. And I felt the team was kind of Amoonguss weak. So tricking a Choice Scarf onto it is, yeah, basically my idea on how I'm going to beat that. But yeah, I think this team here is like, I've been super hyped for Rain this whole format, but I think if Tapu Lele does get Expanding Force and it is in the game, this might be like very close to my day 1 team, just like full hyper offensive team. Obviously, like anyone who's like watched me in the past, right, knows I love these super HO teams, but the biggest issue I always had in the past was like Sucker Punch plus EE Speed, right? Like basically Qian Power plus D-Knight, right? I hated it because it was like, I lead my Flutterfish, and then it's like, oh shit, well, if I go Terra Ghost on my Chi-Yu, I'm just going to get one shot by Sucker Punch. You know, if I don't, I'm getting one shot by an E-Speed. And then there's also a world where like maybe he calls it, like maybe he calls my Terra Fairy on my Flutter Mane, and then like next thing I know, he's just E-Speed my Flutter Mane and one-shot it. It's a lot of weird shit, yeah. So I think Lele like could really, really support this core well, while also being like the most powerful mon on this team with potential, you know, Expanding Force in Psychic terrain. But yeah, look, guys, that's it for the teams I kind of, you know, I've just been theory crafting. Obviously, we don't know how, we don't know if any of this is going to like happen, right? I personally just love theory crafting. I love speculating, and I just love throwing these teams together, you know, just throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks, and then, you know, hopefully tomorrow they announce the format, and it's like, hey, I have, you know, potentially 8 teams that I can, you know, start building off of. But yeah, anyway, guys, let me know down below what you think of them, and yeah, don't forget, join the Discord, and hit the subscribe button, because obviously, you know, we're on the way to 3K. But yeah, thanks, guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace.